Hey there, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Rockstar Manifestors podcast. And as luck would have it, just as I got started recording this, or just before, there is some work or noise going on outside the wall behind me. So hopefully it won't come across. And if it does, hopefully it's not too loud, but that's just how it goes. So if you hear some random noises, that's what it is. For those that are watching on video version or seeing this, it's on it's at the wall right behind me, behind that window. And if not, well, just imagine I'm sitting in front of a wall with a curtain, a window behind me with a curtain, and then outside of that, kind of the neighbor's house, there is some work going on. So anyway, that is just off the wall jump in to this episode. I am Patty. I am the founder and manifestation coach here at Blue Moon Manifestations. And I am here to talk to you today about trust. So the question that I am kicking this off with is, do you trust yourself? Do you trust yourself? Not someone else, but yourself. Now, that might sound like a strange question, but I invite you to explore it just a little bit or get curious about that. And I'm going to go into a little bit more about what I mean by that. Do you trust that you are capable enough, smart enough, strong enough, resilient enough, or even worthy enough to change your circumstances, achieve your dreams, stand up for yourself and ask for the things that you want or set the boundaries? Just speak what you want, say it, stand up for yourself. That's basically the best way to say that. Do you trust that you're capable of all those things? Do you trust that you can do those things or achieve those things? Or are there fears, past experiences, beliefs, and identities, old or past identities of yourself that you're holding on to? Are they creating stories that are keeping you from trusting yourself enough, from believing that these things are possible and you are absolutely worthy and capable and strong, and anything that you think or believe that you're not? You are absolutely capable and worthy. You wouldn't have the desires you have if they were not for you, or if they were not leading you somewhere that is for you as well. So the question of trusting myself came up for me recently in my journaling, through some journaling after pulling one of my daily cards. What I'm doing currently, it changes from time to time, but what I'm doing currently is every morning I do I have routines and habits, like my morning routine basically. And right now, part of it consists of pulling one tarot card and then one oracle card. And the oracle cards are from one of several moon themed decks that I have. Sometimes the tarot deck is two, because I use typically one deck per month. Like I use the same deck of each for an entire month or lunar cycle, actually. So the oracle cards are primarily always, or are always, moon themed currently. And this is part of me like diving deeper and strengthening my relationship with the moon and subsequently myself. And if you don't know what I mean by that, last week's episode was about that exactly. Developing a relationship with the moon and how that is actually developing and strengthening a relationship with yourself. So if you have not checked that one out, that is available. It's the episode right before this one. So I had pulled my cards. And so the oracle card, the moon themed oracle card, was from the Moonology Messages Oracle deck. And let's see, what did I write here? I saw that the card I pulled was about releasing, or the word on it was releasing. And I thought that this related to releasing old ways of thinking, releasing stories, like I said. And the reason that I thought that was because the tarot card that I pulled that same day was the Two of Swords. And swords is associated with the element of air, which has to do with our thoughts, communication, beliefs, that type of thing. So, that's a common thing, let go of old beliefs, reframe them. So I associated it with releasing old ways of thinking, or even ways of thinking that just are not helping me or benefiting me in any way. That's the thought that initially came up, or the idea that initially came up based, like I said, on the Two of Swords card. Then I went ahead and read the description in the book for the Oracle card, for the releasing. That's actually, it says releasing is what it said. And I read the description because Oracle cards, if you're not familiar with them, are not like tarot. They don't have like a standard concept or thing. They can be about absolutely anything. And there's no like established framework like there is more so with tarot. So I opened up the book and I read the description, and the part of it that jumped out at me and basically energetically slapped me in the face, I actually went back to the book and I wrote it exactly like it is from the book. So this is what it said. As much as you might think you know exactly what you want, allow the universe to show you your next best step. Trust that the universe has an amazing plan for you, because it does. And that trust and like thinking that I know best is the part that jumped out at me and was like, oh, holy shit. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to do with thinking or letting go of old thoughts, but thinking that I know best. And so as I journaled, because a lot of times I journal a bit more and see what comes up and what thoughts, so that I can revisit it and explore it just a little bit more. So as I journaled a bit more, I wrote, and I went back to my journal because this was recently, like last week, and I wrote, I realized that I trust the universe, but not myself. And then I also realized that the reason I don't trust myself is because of all these bullshit stories that are based on past experiences and past results, and stories that my mind has created based on, experiences, results, all these things that are part of my experience. And I also realized that a little side note really was, I realized that it's such a contradiction to say that I trust the universe, but not myself. Because really, isn't that working against itself? Because I, as we all are part of the universe. We have this innate wisdom that we don't often tap into or believe. And so being guided by the universe, if we allow ourselves to develop and tap into our intuition, is really working against ourselves, because we are here as spiritual beings having this human experience. I'm sure you've heard that type of sentence or that phrase before. And so how dare I, as a person having a human experience, think that I know more or better than this ultimate consciousness, this creative energy, this energy of love? And, this is a whole other episode that we could go into, or several, but thinking about that I know better is not really the truth. And so that's what I started thinking about that. So these stories are actually what was coming up as the thing I realized was keeping me from trusting myself. And the stories, just the general themes of the stories that I took note of, are the stories were telling me that I can and should make do with what I have, to play it safe, to not get too invested or get my hopes up too high, because there's going to be a letdown somewhere along the way. that I'm not the type of person who can manage or sustain more than what I've had or more than what I've achieved to date. Even though that's, a load of crap too, because the things that I have achieved and accomplished now are more than what I had and what I have done and achieved in the past. So even though I have this evidence, the stories still creep up. So these stories were general themes that I jotted down and that I was aware of. And so by by listening to these stories, by believing them and holding myself back, I have been keeping a higher level of success, a higher level or achieving higher things, just up leveling my life in general. I've been holding that off and putting it at a distance because I don't and I have not been trusting myself to accomplish it and sustain it. And so holding what I want at a distance because I don't trust myself is me being stuck or still believing or still being in that energy of those old ways of being, old habits that I have, old patterns that, yes, are part of my experience. They're part of my history, but they're not my current habits. But those damn stories and beliefs have such a way of holding on so tight that we have to intentionally do this work on an ongoing basis. And that's also something that I realized in this concept of trust. It's like, yes, I've done hard things. I've taken hard steps. I've achieved things. And my brain has such a brilliant way of saying, okay, so now we're here. There's no need to do it anymore. So that's when those old stories come up again, even though I have achieved several times over different levels. And I've had setbacks and gotten back to the place I was and beyond. But those stories are determined. They're determined. They're embedded. So it is an ongoing process. It's ongoing work to do the thing over again, to go to that next level, to identify and realize that we are listening to, or that those stories and beliefs still have a hold, and that they're keeping us from that because they're convincing us, not to trust ourselves. So if this is something that you can relate to, like, can you relate to this? Or can you think of an area in your life where you are holding yourself back? Or you're holding at a distance, keeping at a distance the thing that you want because you don't trust yourself enough to actually have it, or maybe sustain it, or to weather the storms, the challenges that come with achieving that next level or that thing. Or you don't think you are able to withstand what other people think, or you don't want to defend yourself. You don't want to justify your decisions, or whatever the stories are that are being created or that are running on a loop in your brain based on your experiences, which are different than mine. But the stories tend to have like a similar nature a lot of the times, not every time. And then so bringing this back around to this concept of developing trust, not having trust in myself. And if you can relate to this, like the not having trust in yourself, now take it external to relationships with another person, whether it's a friend, a coworker, a partner, whatever the case is. How does trust develop in a relationship with another person? How does that happen? And what I wrote down, what I came up with in making my notes for this is like, well, they keep showing up and they do what they say they're going to do. They're honest and accept responsibility when they make a mistake or when they miss something or whatever the case is, right? When something kind of goes off kilter, and they take responsibility for it. They're honest about it. And so also kind of tapping into this theme that I started with last week's episode about developing and building and strengthening a relationship with yourself, that same concept of developing trust and how it's developed is the same with the relationship that you have with yourself, and that I have, the relationship that I have with myself. It's showing up and doing the thing that we're going to do. Because when we listen to those old stories that, oh, you don't stick with things, or, oh, just make do with what you have, there's no need to go to a higher level. Why go through all that hassle of achieving a higher level and all the extra, I don't know, responsibility or time or whatever the story is creating for you? It's the same thing. Now, since our lives are not compartmentalized, there's, all the aspects of our life are part of our life all the time, at any given time, even, when we're focusing on one particular thing, all these other aspects of our life are still part of our life. So if you're in this spot, or if this resonates with you, or you can think of examples where you don't trust yourself, or you haven't trusted yourself, and you've allowed that trust, that distrust, you've allowed not trusting yourself to keep you from pursuing your dream or trying again, or whatever the thing is, look for evidence of where you do trust yourself in other areas of your life. Like, do you know you are the bomb at a certain activity, at a hobby, or what you do for work, or I don't know, playing an instrument, whatever it is? Where do you know, like, I am just the shit. I am good at this. And why do you trust yourself? Why do you believe that about yourself in that area of life, but not in this one? You're the same person, right? Because all these aspects of our life are part of our life. We're the common denominator in all these aspects. So why do we trust ourselves in one area, but not in another? Well, because it's new and scary and different and outside of our comfort zone. But if we think about it, wasn't the thing we trust ourselves at outside of our comfort zone at some point, at least on some level? So look for the areas in your life that you do trust yourself, and examine and get curious about why you trust yourself there, and what did you do to develop that trust. For example, I will give you an example that I have for myself. I now trust myself when it comes to exercise and movement and incorporating movement in my life. I went through the process of, finding the things that I like. And of course, all the trial and error before, of not sticking with things, of quitting, of just falling off the bandwagon, and all the things that go along with that. And so looking for the evidence, or for the areas where you do trust yourself, and examining why, you can apply those same reasons that you trust yourself in that area to your new one. So with exercise, I now trust myself to get up every morning and do at least 15 to 20 minutes of exercise. That's my morning routine, because I know that if I say I'm going to do it later, or if I put it off till the evening, it's very hit or miss whether I would or not. Now, that's based on knowing myself and past experiences, and trying and experimenting with different ways of exercising, different times, different routines, and getting up and doing it first thing in the morning. That's what I do. And when there's times, like if I get sick, or if, I don't know, traveling, or some type of something keeps me from exercising. And I can say being sick is probably the only thing that will keep me from doing nothing, where I don't do any exercise, because I've even developed, like, for those times where it's like, oh, I got to get up and go, or it's an earlier morning than normal, and I get up pretty early. I can do at least 2 minutes of something. I can do 2 minutes of squats. I can do, hold a plank for 2 minutes. I can do squats while I'm brushing my teeth. I can fit something in. And I know that I can also fit extra things in throughout the day, but I don't rely on those extra things. I do something right away. as soon as I get up in the morning, even if I have to be out the door in 45 minutes or half an hour or whatever. Or just my schedule. Because like I said, I get up pretty early, but I do a lot of work things pretty early as well. So when that's the case, I know I can do at least 2 minutes. And usually that extends into about 5. So that's sometimes just a few rounds of sun salutations in the morning, or doing squats, setting the timer and doing squats for 2 minutes. I have done something, because something is better than nothing. And all the movement and exercise has a cumulative effect, right? So doing something, I can check off that box that I have done my movement for the day. Maybe it's not as much as I would like, but I have done it. And I'm staying accountable to myself so that I trust myself that when there's those times, like if I'm not feeling well, which isn't that often. And I mean, like true, like where, it's like, it's like I have like, chest congestion or something that really makes it like hard to breathe or hard to function, or you have the serious body aches, not just because like, oh, I'm feeling achy or just not quite with it. I now have done that, have done this enough where I trust myself, and I have found ways to stay accountable and in integrity with myself or to myself. But it wasn't an overnight process. And that is the evidence that I can say, look, I trust myself here. And there are areas, I'm sure, in your life, and it might not be with movement or exercise. It could be with something enjoyable, like a hobby or spending time with someone or whatever it is. But there are areas that you do feel confident and trust yourself in. And so the key is to take and investigate why you trust yourself and carry that over to this other area that you're not maybe trusting yourself in so much. And at the time that I'm recording this, it's October 18th of 2023. And so we have a first quarter moon coming up this weekend. And that, if you do work with the moon, is the time for action taking, doing some action towards your intention. And so pick something to start at the first quarter moon. And if you're listening to this some other time where you're not at the first quarter moon, this is just a timing example. There is no wrong day to start taking action. Every day is an opportunity. There is a new beginning every day, every hour, every minute, however minute you want to go. But in real time that I'm recording this, we do have the first quarter moon coming up. And so pick an action. And if you've done something where you've fallen off, you did start something, then pick today or tomorrow, schedule it in and get back on. The key here is getting back to it and finding ways for yourself to get back and hold yourself accountable or be accountable to yourself. And know, especially if you look back at the things that you do trust yourself in and that you are good at, look back at the beginning stages. Was there some discomfort in learning this? Was there some awkward moments? Well, that's going to happen again with this new thing that you're starting or getting back to or up leveling. There is no, okay, I've reached the best level and I'm the best at everything. It's an ongoing process. And so it may and will likely, feel like shit for a little bit, or be awkward or messy or just uncomfortable. And that's part of it. That's how we grow and expand and reach that next level, through that discomfort and that transformation. And that's how you develop trust with yourself, by showing up for yourself, doing things when you don't necessarily feel like it, finding the way that does work if one way truly is not working. It's sticking with it. And so I realized within this concept, like, yes, I have been holding off the things that, like up leveling and reaching a different, a better, a higher level of success, and reaching a level that can affect more significant changes in my life. And it's like, I'm holding myself back from that. And so it's up to me to find the way that works, because really I have been in business. I started my business 5 years ago and I'm still here. So I've done the trying, I've done the learning, I'm continuing to do the trying and the learning. And I have achieved certain benchmarks that early on felt very far away or unachievable, but now I have them, I've achieved them, I'm maintaining those levels. So I'm still here. So why not continue to go? If this is another thought I had is like, if this is where I am, if this is okay, well, I'm good. So why not go for the next thing? And then also included is working through those stories, like identifying those stories for myself, where wanting more, like you can make do with where you are. You can make do with what you have. And yes, that's a true statement, but that doesn't mean I have to. Just because I can and I have done it for so long in my life doesn't mean I have to continue to do that. And that's the same for you. So that's it for this one. I do want to let you know quickly, I am doing things a little bit different. I am recording the podcast, these podcast episodes recorded, like they're not live. I had initially started doing them live on Facebook and then turning them into a podcast episode. And what I realized is I was missing the opportunity to actually connect and dive deeper on the topics that I'm talking about or that I share. So I will be recording the podcast episode and releasing it like normal. And then I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live during the week to actually dive deeper on that same topic. And so right now I'm in the trying and experimenting phase. And that's also me trusting, developing this trust in myself. It's like I can experiment and try what works because I've done it in other areas of my life. And so I will be doing that. And so check out, you can watch, you'll be able to see the videos on my Facebook page and in my Facebook group. And there's just more interaction and more engagement in the group. But if you want to check them out and just to see if it's something that you're interested in either catching on the replay, participating in, go to the Blue Moon Manifestations Facebook group and then our Facebook page, and the group is the Moon Manifesting Rockstars. And I will put the links to those in the notes and things, so you can find them. And that's what I'll be doing and trying and seeing how that works so that I can maybe get more interaction and dive deeper other than just sharing the episode and leaving it at that. So we'll see how it works. And if it's something that you have tried, or you have caught a video and are also listening to this podcast, let me know if it's something that you think works well. I love getting feedback. So that's it for this week. And I will talk to you guys later. Take care.